Hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
I sure can. How you doing?
That's awesome. Hold on for a moment. I'll be right back. Hey, everyone. This is Papa Dixie OG Social Network Podcast. Welcome to the show. I didn't have audio for a second. I was freaking out. Everything's working out great. Oh, yes. I just want to thank you all for coming on to the OG Social Network Podcast. As you know, I am very excited about having this beautiful, beautiful young lady and her history, and I'm just ready to go. So I'm just going to get started right here. A trailblazer with unmatched grit, Regent Wanda James is a CU Boulder graduate with the Black commission, first Black commissioned Naval ROTC uh, uh, graduate. And I have to say, uh, meeting you is going to be like crazy, but let me finish. All right. First Black woman commissioned through the Naval ROTC, from serving as a military officer to advising President Obama and Biden. Her career spans Fortune 100 boardrooms and historic political campaigns. In 2009, she and her husband, Chef Scott Durrah, shattered ceilings as the first African Americans to own a cannabis company in the United States. Now, this former National Women's Political Caucus president is bringing her fierce advocacy to a new stage, a bold bid for Congress in Colorado's first district. Grounded by her three hounds, she has two bassets and a Great Dane and a lifetime of service. Regent Wanda James is the definition of a modern visionary. How are you doing?
Hey, how are
Hey,
you doing? I am so
well,
good. I am so excited to be here today. This is the fun part.
I got to tell you, I definitely wanted to make sure I did my research, and I read a lot about you, and I know your time is of the essence. So we're just going to get right to the questions. And
Okay.
we're going to talk about the cannabis industry from state pioneer to national policy.
Oof.
You were the first Black woman to own a dispensary in the US. How has that being the first shaped your view of the regulatory hurdles that still exist for minority entrepreneurs today?
I mean, we've been talking about that a lot lately just because of everything that's kind of happening. But, here we are. It's been 17 years. 17 years. Dear God. And what blows my mind about that number is 17 years and we still can't have a bank account.
Hmm.
17
Hmm.
years and people outside of our industry, and not everywhere, even in Colorado, people are used to the cannabis industry, used to our products. Everybody has a gummy joke. But I'm still just amazed at the level of folks who are weird about cannabis, right?
Hmm.
Especially running for office now, and I get whatever. I get stupid comments from people who are saying things like, well, we heard that you wanted to sell weed on campus, and I'm like, well, you can't sell weed on campus,
Right,
it's not
right,
legally.
right.
But I mean, it's just amazing that 17 years later, the 100 years of reefer madness marketing is still greatly in effect and ingrained in people. It's crazy.
I believe a lot of that has to do with the white supremacist culture
Oh,
and the stigmatism of. It's just been since the inception of this country, our status and hierarchy in the country is we're fighting to be equal. I believe. You stated that full federal legalization is the only path for national market stability. In a
yes.
divided Congress, right? What is the specific legislative vehicle you'd push to get that get that across the line? The
Yeah.
legislation.
So let's be very clear. So, sweeping legislation never happens, not just in cannabis, but in anything. Everything in Congress is a piece by piece thing. And I mean, I can get into the reasons why. And the fear of politicians and why we don't have wide sweeping legislation on anything. But first and foremost, banking. The idea that 17 years later we can't have a bank account, the idea that 17 years later, even me as a founder and a CEO, less than 6 months ago, Chase Bank shut down my personal account, not my business account, my personal account, right? Which has nothing to do with cannabis. So we're still dealing with that ridiculousness. So first and foremost, banking. We must have banking. And, and I argue with the folks about equity and the different things. Yes, I'm all about equity. We've got to have equity in cannabis, but I don't feel good having people of color come into this industry knowing that they're not going to be able to get loans, they're not going to be able to get credit cards. It may adversely affect, your own personal opportunities in banking and your bank accounts and your credit cards. Those are two different subjects in my opinion. So we've got to get banking moving. And then, I want to sit down and meet with the people who pull together the policy pieces on what is it that we should be putting in front of Congress right now? What are the next steps? We talk about Project 2025, which is a bad thing, right? I mean, it's just so negative, but they laid it out. Here's what we're going to do month 1. Here's what we're going to do month 2. Here's what we're going to do month 3, and here are the pieces that we're going to hit. And I want to see that kind of layout between now and how we get to legalization, right? And maybe it is a 2-year legalization piece, right? Because I do believe, Trump is definitely not my favorite person. Not even,
don't even go there.
My most unfavorite person.
We actually, I want to tell you, not to cut you off, I think we have not one, but several antichrists roaming this planet. But go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Please.
1000%, right? But the idea that he actually said that he's willing to go to Schedule 3, we're not there yet. He didn't really do anything more than what Biden did, but at least he is the first president to actually talk about it in terms that says to the DOJ, make it happen. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Probably not. But I mean, at least we have movement on that issue, right? So what needs to happen next? And then that's when we start talking about equity and how do we get this thing over the line so that we're moving toward legalization. But yeah, full on legalization, that's my goal. That's my North Star. That's where we need to move to, because nobody in America should be going to prison because they sold a dime bag last night.
Dig it. I feel that. How do we ensure federal legalization doesn't just become a corporate takeover, though? That leaves legacy operators and small businesses owners like yourself in the dust, because we have a major problem with predatory practices here in the state. And so what is your take on that?
So look, what's happening right now?
Oh God, please. I don't drink, and I'm really thinking about drinking for the first. I swear to God. I mean, I was looking at meth and heroin, just looking at other ways to get away from this reality. I just turned 62 in January, and I feel like all my life, are you kidding me? I've been living in the Matrix. I am losing my mind. So again, I think I know change won't happen until this regime is gone. So, but the midterms are the key. So again, how do we ensure that federal legalization doesn't just become a corporate takeover that leaves legacy operators, but a small business and small business owners like ourselves in the dust? You know what I mean?
So let me be honest. Here in Colorado, the small business owners are all going away. I don't know that Simply Pure is going to be around this time next year. We all knew that this runway was going to run out, right? I can't afford $20,000 a month in banking. I can't afford to pay somebody $250 every day to come pick up my cash at my dispensary. I can't afford to pay my landlord $18,000 a month for rent. I can't afford not having any write-offs. I can't afford it. None of
Mm-hmm.
us can, right? The
Mm-hmm.
difference between me and an MSO or you and an MSO was an MSO is making billions, and they're going to run out of runway. They're making billions and losing hundreds of millions, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're making, a few 100,000 to 1 million and losing, more than half of it. So when people start talking to me about, oh my God, legalization is going to make for corporate takeovers, what do you think is happening right now?
Yep. Right now it is.
So,
We're overrun with uh, California, out of
yep,
state. A lot of people from California, Colorado. So yeah.
yep, yep.
Um,
So what we're fearful of is happening right now. Um, Colorado, if you own one dispensary, you stand no chance of survival unless you happen to have a super dispensary, Planet 13 in Las Vegas or whatever, or something like that. But if you have a normal, regular dispensary, yeah, you stand no chance of survival unless for some reason you're in the, in the middle of something, or it's so big that it works for you, But I keep hearing this from people. Well, if we legalize, it's going to be corporate takeover. So I don't believe that. And let me tell
yeah, I
you
don't
why.
either.
The restaurant industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
restaurant industry has Cheesecake Factory and Ruth Chris and all of the big
Yeah,
major chains.
Morton's. Mm-hmm.
And my husband's restaurant does very well. Rosalinda's Mexican place right down the corner does very well, right? And it's because they are allowed banking, they are allowed lines of credit, they are allowed the ability to exist as small businesses. Small businesses can't survive in this, cannot,
Mm-hmm.
cannot.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to start to say that small businesses cannot survive under Schedule 1, Schedule 2, or Schedule 3. They cannot. It does not work. And we need to say that. It does not work. And if you can point out one small business in America that has worked in 17 years, lay it on me.
Oh God. Sheesh.
Lay it on
Ugh,
me.
I can't.
Ooh,
I really can't.
there's not, because
I
there's
know.
not.
Yeah, I know. On a side note, what is the name of the restaurant your husband's running?
Uh,
It owns. Because
so
I'm a foodie, so I will come to Colorado and eat.
he is on restaurant number 6. His very first restaurant was the Jamaican Cafe in Santa Monica. And then he opened up 8 Rivers here in Colorado, which was Ocho Rios. He then opened up Jezebel's Southern Bistro, which
Oh
was
wow.
an amazing whiskey bar and Southern food. And now he's got the Small Batch Smokehouse, which he smokes all of his meats, he smokes his whiskey, and he smokes his weed. So weed's not a part of the restaurant, but
Holy
he
cow.
smokes his weed. He
I'm
smokes it.
definitely, well, I'm coming. I gotta
Come on,
come and visit you. I
come
love
on.
it. I love it. We'll
But this
talk
is
more
what I'm
about that.
saying, though. You can
Yeah.
have small businesses in the world of the Cheesecake Factory,
Right.
right? You
Right.
can't have small businesses in the world of the MSOs. Doesn't
No.
work.
Oh wow.
Doesn't
So
work.
you advocate for community reinvestment using marijuana tax. Specifically, how would you direct those federal funds to fix the damage done by the war on drugs in Denver?
Well, I mean, we're kind of already seeing it a little bit. So the Marijuana Cash Fund here in Colorado has been used to help with issues of homelessness in Aurora. It's building schools in neighborhoods of color so that we have better schools. I would like to see it reinvested in things like healthcare and urgent cares so that people are able to have the dignity of going to the hospital when they are ill. Education is always a big piece for me. Obviously, ending homelessness. I'd like to take it a step further and see us reinvest some of the money into home ownership so that people have access to low interest funding to be able to buy their first home, especially if they happen to be teachers or first responders. I mean, there's just so much if we put our heads together that we would be able to do to be able to help the communities that were destroyed by the war on drugs by just investing a little bit of the money that comes out of the marijuana cash fund,
Okay.
marijuana tax cash fund.
Excellent. And what would you project that to be? Like,
Oh,
how
as a
big
number?
would that fund be as a number?
I mean, it could be huge, right? I mean, how many billions do we do across the United States, right? So even if you're
Right.
talking just a percentage, a small percentage, that would be reinvested. And once again, we're talking about a federal program, situation. And once again, it would take legalization, right? Because
Hmm.
SBA is already set up to be able to do this for other industries, which we can't hear because we're federally legal drugs. So this is why I'm saying legalization would give so much more back if we stop talking about the fears that's going to happen. And let me put this out there as well too. And no one wants to hear this, and I'm going to be your most popular guest. But
no, everyone is excited that you're on. Trust me, go right ahead.
All I hear about is big tobacco is going to come in. Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's why North Carolina is not legal yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big
tobacco
is going to come in. It is. And I don't know what the industry will look like in 5, 10, 20 years, right? But I do know that cannabis will most likely be an agricultural product, just as orange, apples, cucumbers and corn is. It'll be grown in areas that, allow for the growth. Yes, there will be small independent growers, who do something very special with their grow or their brand. But for the most part, we're already seeing this in Colorado, right? Because nobody cares who owns a dispensary anymore. It used to be being the first Black owner or the first female owner, or, people made an effort to come to your dispensary. But now that there's 267 dispensaries in Denver, nobody is going to pass 10 dispensaries from Aurora to come to my dispensary, in North Denver, right? They're going to go to the one that's closest. Just like I've told people and I've asked people, I'm like, what's the name of the liquor store on the corner by your house?
We have proximity rules here that we're concerned about. Big multi-state MSOs and ROs coming in and encroaching upon small businesses. But we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So we're going to take a commercial break. Okay. And we'll be right back. At Proteus 420, they provide high quality services and educational resources to support your growth and help you thrive in the cannabis community. Efficient inventory management ensures you maintain a reliable product supply and avoid stock shortages. Their point of sale service tracks sales activity, helping you identify best sellers, top employees, and valuable customers. Stay compliant with built-in reporting, alerting you to the latest state and local regulations. With payment processing, accept payments seamlessly across various methods, including cash and debit. Their customer relation management system builds loyalty, ensuring tailored offerings for repeat business. Proteus 420. Empowering your cannabis business for success. All righty. It's Papa Dukes. We are back. Did I lose my camera? I think I did. Holy cow. Oh, wow. So I'm going to have to use my backup camera, which is no big deal. Sorry about that, guys. What we are going to talk about now is one thing that I will get us started on real quick. Let me get you to talk about this. Okay. All right. The Safe Banking Act is coming soon, right? For a couple of years anyway. As a business owner, how would you pressure the old politics of caution to finally let cannabis businesses use the traditional banking system?
So, Bet, I'm thoroughly confused what the problem is. What's the problem? I don't know. And nobody has been able to articulate to me what the problem is. We are a multi-billion-dollar industry. We exist in, I think, every state but 3, whether it's medicinal marijuana or recreational adult use, cannabis. And for the life of me, I will never understand what the issue is as to why we can't have banking. Obviously, it's because it's a Schedule 1 illegal drug, and so, or it's classified as a Schedule 1 illegal drug. It is not that. So we are still underneath the archaic reefer madness pieces of the 1980s. I'm befuddled. I'm completely befuddled. And so I would love to be able to sit down with somebody who is opposed to banking and have them tell me, 1, 2, 3, what's the problem? Because I don't understand. We have businesses that are registered with the Secretary of State. We pay our employees, through Gusto or whatever payroll system. We pay into Social Security. We pay our taxes. We write checks. We have all the trappings of banking without actually having banking. So I will never understand what the problem is.
Understood. Yeah, I think a lot of it again is due to the stigmatisms and
Yep.
the racist policies.
Yep.
I am too old to even be talking lightly about it. It is a systematic redlining of our ability to evolve in this country. Uh,
Systematic redlining.
it really is.
Yep.
We're going to talk about veterans and healthcare reform. Okay. And
Yep.
as a Navy veteran, you've seen the toll of service. Why is it still so difficult for VA doctors to recommend medical cannabis? And what is your plan to fix that? But we know it's probably because of the federal, it's not legal.
Yep.
But I know they have experimented and used it and have the data to
Yep.
convince the military leaders. What do you think?
Cowardice.
Oh,
And it's cowardice on the part of our elected officials. So I don't know what happens when they all go back into those rooms. We have politicians coming to our fundraisers. We write checks for them and they tell us that they're going to do this and do that and talk to this doctor and talk to that doctor and allow for this and allow for that. And then they go back into their little, congressional or Senate rooms and they come out and they're like, yeah, we just couldn't get it done. Well, why?
mhm,
Why? What was said in those rooms? And to the best of my knowledge, nobody has told me what was said in those rooms. And this is why we need to elect one of our own that can go into those rooms. So I can come back out and be like, Congressperson A, B, and C, D said this, and this is why we can't get it, over the thing. Or we can actually have the conversation around the table where people who even our allies don't know enough about cannabis to be able to combat the arguments. For example, we always have the conversation here with some reefer madness person that's like, oh my God, Colorado, so many children end up in the emergency room because they get hold of gummies and these high potency gummies and they end up in emergency rooms. Oh my God.
mhm.
And that's the end of the conversation. And people are like, oh, children are in the emergency rooms. My next question would be like, what happens to the children in the emergency rooms? They're given a hydration. They're allowed to sleep it off. And 100% of those children walk out of the emergency rooms the next morning well rested and fully.
They're even more. They're probably better than the kids that are on Ritalin.
Well, probably,
No,
but
but I'm just saying, yeah.
but they're fully hydrated, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, as we go into this new world of gummies and different things, yeah, it's on parents to make sure that your kids are educated on what edibles are and that they should not be using them, and they definitely shouldn't be eating 100 milligram bar or chocolate bar. And it's up to us to protect our children. It's up to parents to protect our children. It's not just enough to have something sold into a dispensary. So that's what I'm saying. When we have one of our own who is sitting at the table, we can start to lower the ridiculous reefer madness that somebody throws up that they believe to be true about cannabis, which 98% of it is just not true. Even the other thing that they like to talk about here is, oh my gosh, in Colorado, and this isn't the right number, I don't know what it is, but 62% of the people who end up in a car crash have cannabis in their system. They're intoxicated on cannabis. And I'm like, no. They may have cannabis in their system, but having smoked a joint 2 weeks ago and having cannabis in your system does not equal to being impaired on the road. The reason you had the accident was because you just left the tequila bar and slammed 5 tequilas and you are drunk. Big difference, right? So we've got to have people who are armed with the facts to be able to talk about this around the table so that we can start to figure out what happens in those rooms that prevents us from allowing doctors and nurses from allowing, especially our vets, to be able to have cannabis if it helps them with PTSD or pain from shrapnel in their bodies or the pain of just being at war.
Understood. Very well done. You are a supporter of Medicare for all. How does your experience in the private business sector reconcile with the push for a single payer government system?
Yeah. So once again, small business owner, right? Nothing would make me happier than to be able to give my employees full medical benefits, right? But
Mhm.
once again, under 280E, we have no money, we have no profits. So it is impossible for us to give those kind of benefits, right? So, well, first off, 280 needs to go away. Say all of that good things need to happen. But Americans should be able to have health insurance that goes with them. No matter
Mhm.
where you work, no matter what your job, you should know that if you're sick, if you're injured, um, you have the dignity of going to the doctor without making the calculated comparison. Oh my God, if I go to the doctor, I'm not going to be able to eat next week, or
Mhm.
my kid's not going to be able to eat next week, or I'm not going to be able to make a car payment. I mean, those aren't even dignified comparisons. Go get taken care of to be sick or not eat. Um, yeah,
Oh,
not good,
mhm.
not even remotely good. And just real quick, every other G7 nation in the world, developed country in the world, has some type of Medicare for all, single payer, socialized medicine, something that allows for everybody to be able to have medical care without going bankrupt, except for America.
That's, of course. Yes, of course. We truly are excelling. Um, Many veterans struggle, with the pharmaceutical loop of opioids. Do you see cannabis as a primary tool for national veteran suicide prevention?
1000%, right? When our vets say that they would rather have cannabis than a jar of OxyContin and their sidearm next to them, my God, give them cannabis. I'm all about natural plant medicine as well, too, right? I'm just not somebody that takes quote unquote drugs.
Mm,
I just don't. I try my hardest not to take big pharma. Uh, I'm not saying all big pharma is bad. It's not. We need it to survive, and I get it. And I think that there should be a combination. But when we start to think about, psilocybin, has been highly effective in helping people heal their brains, heal the trauma of war, heal PTSD of women who have been abused. There is so much that I think that we can learn from the earth, and learn from natural medicines, that I think it's not only time, it's time to go back, right? Back to the future, because
yes.
our ancestors figured it out. And then somehow or another, we decided if it's not in a pill and not in a bottle, it doesn't work for us, right? But I
Mhm,
think we're discovering the opposite to be true. So, yeah.
mhm. Well,
And I would love to see medical schools start to allow training of our new doctors on natural medicine, because there's got to be a better way than, getting a kid or a person hooked on whatever kind of, you brought it up before, Ritalin at 12
mhm.
years old, and then on drugs for the rest of their life.
Yeah, dig it. We're going to move on to foreign policy. Israel, foreign aid, forever
Yep.
wars.
Yep.
Uh, you've publicly called for the ending of the U.S. funding of offensive weapons for Israel. How do
Yep.
you respond to critics who say this stance weakens a key strategic ally?
So I do think that people have simplified a little bit too much of what's happening in the Middle East. And I will say that most Americans don't understand what's happening in the Middle East. However, we can't look at the images that we saw all throughout last year and say that that's okay.
Hmm.
Um, 30,000 children murdered, 75,000 people murdered. October 7th, what happened in Israel and what Hamas did to 1,200 Israelis, repulsive, disgusting, wrong. I can't imagine what it feels like to be Israel, to be in a part of the world or a region of the world where everybody wants to attack you. I'm not going to pretend to understand all of the ins and outs of what that's all about. I don't understand it. But I will say this: Netanyahu is a right wing lunatic, just as
Hmm.
Donald Trump is a right wing lunatic. Both of these men know that they can stay in power as long as they sow division and chaos. And that's what this was about. We can criticize Israel. We can criticize Netanyahu. We can criticize the issues of one of the most powerful armies in the world without being labeled anti-Semitic. And quite frankly, it's time that we do that. Just as I am critical of America, I am critical of what we did in Venezuela. I am critical of what we are doing in Iran. I am massively critical of a Trump administration. I am ridiculously critical of this idiot calling himself the Secretary of War. What an asshole. I mean,
my
what a
God.
complete and utter
Oh
asshole.
my God.
Right?
This is definitely the DEI administration, but go ahead.
Oh, it's worse. It's not even DEI, because DEI means that we're going to give people an opportunity. These people are failures and drunkards and misogynists, and it's horrible, right? I can say all that about America, and nobody will call me anti-American.
Amen to that. Hey, woman to that.
Funny what I can't say about Israel without someone saying, well, you're anti-Semitic. And I am definitely not anti-Semitic. I'm against war, period. I'm against children dying, period. I'm against children dying in the Sudan. I'm against people being starved in all parts of the world. I'm wearing my officer pin today because one of my classmates, Admiral Steve Kaler, is going to be speaking tonight at the University of Colorado. He's coming back home to talk to the midshipmen. Admiral Kaler, my classmate, the guy that graduated with me, he was a Steve Kaler when we graduated.
That's amazing.
Is the commander of the Pacific Fleet. The commander of the Pacific Fleet, y'all. This dude he's got almost all of the Navy under his command. So I'm going to be introducing him tonight at a reception, and I'm excited to see him and to speak with him. But, civilian oversight of our military needs to understand that war is not the answer. War is a last resort, not a first resort. And the bombing of, you saw what first got hit when we hit Iran. They killed 14 schoolgirls.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's 112.
Was it 112? 112 schoolgirls.
It's not more. Yeah.
I'm anti-war. I'm anti-war.
Well, that's why you're on the podcast. And we love to have you on. We love you. We see billions of taxpayer dollars going to foreign conflicts while cities like Denver struggle with housing affordability. Where do you draw the line on foreign aid?
So when we talk about foreign aid, I mean, once again, another big, deep, dark hole, right? That's broken down into different things. What does that mean, right? For us sending things to countries that have more rights or more benefits than what Americans do doesn't make sense to me. When we don't have health care, when Flint, Michigan still has lead pipes. And let me tell you something else. Do you know that every month I get delivered a filter? Because apparently in the part of Denver that I live in, we have lead pipes. That part. Make it make sense, right? What do they tell you on an airplane? Put your mask on first before you assist other people. I do believe, and I'm not a libertarian, I do believe that America can do good in the world. I do believe that America can help people in the world. I do believe that American might can stop other countries from invading other countries. A good example would be the only reason that Taiwan has not been invaded by China is because of America. That's a good thing, right? We should be backing, and not allowing Putin to do what he is doing to Ukraine. But we use American might not as the Department of War, but as the Department of Defense. Key words there, right? We help defend the people who cannot defend themselves, that we can stand up for democracy to ensure that people all over the world are allowed to live free if that's what they choose to want, right? But just giving weapons of war so that big countries can beat up on little countries. No. And what happened in Gaza and everything else, that would be akin to America bombing Tijuana. It makes no sense. No sense.
As someone who served in the Navy, how do you view the current military presence across the globe? Are we overextended? Are we kind of like, stepping on boundaries we shouldn't be stepping on? What do you think, especially with Russia and China now eventually coming into the war?
Well, yes, no, maybe. I mean, once again, we're talking about this in a single swoop, right? And
Right.
it's not a single swoop, right? I mean, there are different regions in the world. There are some things I think we do very well. There are some things that we should stay out of. Like I said, I believe that the reason why China hasn't gone into Taiwan is because of America. But where is our assistance to the Sudan, to African nations, to make sure that people aren't starving? Yes, we do a little bit of it, but we don't do enough. Um, it's difficult, right? Because not all peoples are the same. Not all people want American help. So we can't talk about it in a broad, sweeping term. We literally have to talk about it in smaller terms to figure out where America is doing what is right and what America is doing that's wrong. And let's be clear, you are not the most powerful nation in the world and not doing some things that are horribly wrong.
Right.
It
Right.
goes along with the territory. Doesn't mean that I am turning my back on it or not saying that we're just not going to deal with it, but we have to have every discussion about every action individually.
All right. But I'm I'm of a mind where this system is working only for those that are in power, and the rest of us are struggling.
Yep.
I don't, and the only way to get past that is to reset, break the system.
Yeah.
And so, do you feel the midterms is it a possibility that the midterms can be a stepping stone towards making positive changes towards 2028 and beyond?
All right, so here's why I do something else unpopular that people are going to beat up on me on, right? Here's the thing. You know who won the last presidential election?
I would say Kamala.
No.
Oh, who?
This amazing candidate called Did Not Vote.
Oh, right. I heard about that.
90 million eligible voters did not vote. Trump won with 74 million. Kamala lost by like 73 million. And 90 million people that were eligible to vote did not vote. So look, if you're one of the people out there that, my vote don't matter, I'm not voting, I'm not going to be a part of the system, well, congratulations. Your candidate lost as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have the power to change the midterms, the presidency, the Congress, put people in power who work for us, not the ones that are just funded by big pharma or oil and energy or the military complex or whatever it is that you don't like, or APAC. The reason why all of those institutions have so much power, there's a lot of reasons, but Citizens United, the fact that we have allowed corporations to have the same voice as a voting person, all of that happens because you did not vote. Not you, but
Mm-hmm.
whoever did
No,
not.
I voted.
Yeah, I vote 100% of the time, and it is so disheartening to me when somebody thinks that they can stand in front of me and pontificate on the intellectual piece of not voting, and I'm like, you're a dumbass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
If you
right.
didn't vote, you're a dumbass. And I have no other way. If you didn't vote, you're a dumbass,
Yeah.
and you need to vote. And if you don't think that voting is important, then why do they spend so much time and so much energy and pay a bunch of other dumbasses to come out there and talk you out of voting, that your vote doesn't matter?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And who votes? Old white people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a voting, well, old black people. I mean, old white
Well,
people and black women. Yeah.
yeah. So we're going to go get into democratic reform since we've gone into politics and challenging the establishment. You're challenging, I believe, a 30-year incumbent, Diana DeGette,
Yep.
in your own party.
Yep.
Why do you believe the old guard of the Democratic Party is no longer serving the people of Denver?
She doesn't do anything. She doesn't show up. She's passed 2 bills in 30 years. She's not in community. She's not there for the women, the white women, the young women. She's not there for the Black. She's not there for the Latinos. She has lived under the Golden Dome for 30 years. She has been in office since 1997. And what happens when you are under the Golden Dome for 30 years, and this happens to anybody who is under a Golden Dome for 30 years, is you can't help yourself but to become unattached, uninformed, not a part of it. You live a very different life than the rest of us. I mean, you've lived an amazing life of privilege. You've had one job. What ideas are you bringing to the table when you've had one job?
Mm. Mm.
Only
2 bills?
Two.
Wait a minute. 30 years of working, of serving, and only 2 bills. So basically, she's just been towing the line.
She votes, and her supporters will tell you, well, she votes good. And I'm like, so that's the line of being, and this seat too, for your listeners, this is what we call a D+29 seat, means that this seat is Democratic with 29 points on it, which means it is always going to be a Democratic seat. We are Democrats, hard Democrats. There'll never be a Republican, which means that you've had the ability to come out and talk about the things that matter. You've had the ability to go into communities and change what people believe. You've had the ability to bring conversations to the United States Capitol that Democrats are screaming to hear. And yet we don't hear from you. This is her first competitive race in 25 years. And all of a sudden, she's now everywhere. She's found the internet. She's sending out emails. I'm glad that I was able to get the Congresswoman to at least start to do her job. I guess I'm proud of that. But it's 25 years too late. So, and then when I look at other Democrats in Colorado, like Congressman Joe Neguse, a young man that graduated from the University of Colorado Boulder, was a regent such as I was, Joe Neguse is the reason Christine Ohm got fired. I mean, you saw him light her up.
That was awesome. I definitely had a nice time announcing that after one of my op-eds.
Lit her up, I mean, he went in on her. He was like, we can't find a website for this company. This company existed 8 days before you gave it $220 million to do an ad campaign, know, and even Trump had to fire her, right? That, my friend, is leadership. That is the power of democracy. That is the power of being a congressperson, right? And when my Congresswoman speaks, she talks about, well, I joined all the other Democrats in doing XYZ. I voted for the Democratic XYZ. And I'm like, that's what we're getting? I don't want that. I want some leadership.
It's time
I want some leadership. I want some ideas. I want you to bring some stuff to the table. I want you getting some people fired.
So do you support term limits?
I do.
And I also do. It's self-imposed. It's self-imposed as well.
I do.
Okay. All right.
Well, I'll be happy to know that, number one, I'm too old to be there for 30 years. If I'm there for 30 years, I'm be a woof.
What?
I'll be old.
I thought you like you don't look a day past 39. You know what I mean?
But I do. I do believe in term limits. I've often said that voting is term limits, right? I mean, technically Congress has, you're elected every 2 years. So that's technically the term limit. You can be voted out. But once again, we have a pandemic in America, which is called do not vote. If people would do their job, we wouldn't have to have term limits, but we don't do our job.
So are you more of a centrist Democrat, or because the Democratic Socialist wave is really it's a tsunami. Politicians are winning in districts that were heavily Republican, and Zoran, my mayor, I voted. Man, he is what? He's definitely showing that, yes, this can be done. So where is your stance? Because we have Bernie, who is the far left Democratic Socialist, along with, and then the centrists. I'm sick of Hakeem. I'm sick of Schumer. Schumer should have been gone years ago. Hakeem
Mhm.
to me is a traitor.
Mhm.
So where do you stand?
You know what? I'm not gonna let y'all put me in that box. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And I have lived outside of the box my entire life. You know what I mean? And I'm a
Hmm.
woman who has existed in a man's world. I'm a Black woman who has existed in a white world. I'm a military officer who happens to be a woman. I'm choosing not to be in a box, right? There are some issues that I am absolutely centrist on. There are some issues that I am absolutely left leaning on. You know, it's too much of those clean things that we want to know, like how do you agree with me, and then we do those purity tests, right? Well, if you're not 100% with me on this and I'm not voting for you, hell, I'm not 100% with my husband, but I'm not giving him up. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
this is a
Well,
trap.
politics shouldn't be that way.
It
It should
shouldn't.
be like water. It should be fluid.
It should be
It's
fluid,
ever
but we need
changing.
to know where people stand and where they come from, right? So what do I stand for? I stand for labor and I stand for our workers. It makes no sense to me that we are arguing about paying somebody another dollar an hour while we're paying, you know, why corporate greed is running rampant, right?
Hmm.
And why am I that way? Because I come from a working class background. You know what I mean? I know what that feels like, you know, to go to work every day and not have enough money to make it. So I get that piece. But by the same token, I'm also, you know, pro small business. You know, we've got to protect small businesses. We have to protect small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of America, you know. And so when I hear words like socialist, I'm like, how does that work with small business? Right.
Hmm.
You know, I'm a small business owner. I want to protect that because small businesses make strong labor, which makes strong communities. Nobody moves into a community, you know, and I'm like, oh, I love this neighborhood so much because there's a Walmart on the corner. I'm just excited
Hmm.
about that Walmart. People move into a community because my husband's restaurant is on the corner, because our small dispensary is on the corner, because the dog washing place is on the corner, because Rosalinda's Mexican restaurant is on the corner, right?
Hmm.
So this is the building of community. And so that's why sometimes when I hear these words, you know, socialism, I don't know what that means, you know, and then they go, well, a democratic socialist means if you call the police show up. Well, I'm like, well, duh. Yeah.
I don't.
You know,
I
I
no. I would. Um, that's well. That's another conversation. But yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no,
I
so
mean, but wait a minute. Would you let me just take a break with you real quick? We're gonna take another commercial
all
break.
right.
All right, everyone. I love talking to her. She's amazing. We'll be right back.
For too long, cannabis branding relied on outdated stereotypes. We're here to change that. Jadestone is a woman-owned, strategy-first creative agency, building brands that stand out, resonate, and perform. With white glove service and meticulous attention to detail, we transform ideas into bold identities and memorable experiences. From brand strategy and visual identity to packaging and dispensary design, every touchpoint is intentional, refined, and crafted to make your brand unforgettable. Let's create something extraordinary together.
I am back here with Regent Wanda L. James, and I am blessed to have her here with us. Let's continue our conversation. We are now going to go to Education and the Board of Regents Legacy.
Mhm.
As a Colorado University regent, you've navigated intense campus protests regarding the war in Gaza. What did those conversations with students teach you about the future of American foreign policy?
I stood with our students. It got me in trouble. I don't know if you're aware, if you've done any background on me, but the Board of Regents has censured and sanctioned me because they're mad at me for calling them racist. They're mad at me for standing with the students. They're mad at me
Hmm.
for doing all the things that I do. And this is funny when we were just talking about being a democratic socialist. I guess some people on the Board of Regents think that I'm a socialist because I stood with the students. I stood with the students because I was proud of them.
Wow.
They protested wonderfully. They did nothing wrong. Yes, they violated the camping ban because they camped on campus. They're not supposed to do that. But what I loved about the spirit of these young people was they were making their voices heard, you know?
Hmm.
And I think too many of us forget that, you know, they didn't riot or anything, but, you know, as riot is the voice of the unheard. And when I think about, and I wasn't old enough to know anything that was going on in 1968, but when I think about, the history of 1968, it was the young people that protested the war. It was the women that burnt their bras. It was the Black people that did, Black Power. It was the Latinos that brought up the Chicano movement. It was all of those areas of protest, that brought us to where we are today, where people have rights and voices. So I was proud of our young people. And I was really clear. It didn't matter whether I agreed with them or didn't agree with them or, whatever. I was proud that they stood for what they believed in. And that to me is the essence of learning and the essence of education and the essence of, taking control of your life. So yeah, I was proud of them. I was proud. And the other regions got mad at me.
Well, it's so weird because you just answered two questions in one. And that's amazing because the next question I was going to ask you was you were censured by the Board of Regents for being outspoken in public health. So there's no sense in even going there with that. But I do know that you've been a vocal advocate for free tuition at public universities. How do we pay for that without putting an even heavier burden on the middle class taxpayer?
Yeah, tax the billionaires. So, when we come down to, taxation in America, so once again, and this is my socialist, anti-socialist rant, right? Because I do believe if you are fortunate enough to start a business in which you get, you make $1 billion, oh my God, congratulations, you won the business game, right? But if you made $1 billion in America, that means that you've used, your trucks are on our roadways, your planes are in our skies, you're using our air traffic controllers, you're driving in our toll lanes, you're parking on my streets. You know what I mean? You're doing all those things. So therefore you and your business should be taxed. $1 billion. You should be taxed. And so until we start to see fair taxation of our billionaires, we are going to continue to have these issues, right? But if we got back to the point where we were taxing people, who are making that much money, it won't hurt them. It won't hurt their immediate family. It won't hurt their grandkids, right? Tax the billionaires. That's where the money comes from, 100%. Also, we are coming into a world, to tie this back into the military. We are no longer, well, as we go to war, but our war is now going to be, sent from drones of somebody flying a drone in Kansas. We don't need, a $1 billion aircraft on a $9 billion aircraft carrier, right? So the world is about to change. Technology is about to change. So I think that there is plenty of money to do good. But allowing billionaires to hoard money, we're now talking about having trillionaires. $143 billion is what you're worth. Come on.
And you can't give up. It's already been projected like, oh my God, it's like $20 billion can wipe out food hunger or something like that a year. And it's like pennies on the dollar to house, feed, clothe, and ensure you create these neighborhoods. And the accumulation of wealth and the hoarding of wealth is unprecedented in human history. So one last question, because I know your time is of the essence, and I want to talk about the leadership shakeup. Okay, if elected, would you commit to voting for a new generation of House Democratic leadership, or are we prepared to fall in line behind the current top-tier leadership to get your committee assignments?
Yeah, no, we absolutely need new leaders in Congress, 100%. It's time for new leadership, 1,000%, all across the line.
All right. Well, and on a side note, so that restaurant, the last one you told us about with the barbecue or something,
Smoking,
and smoking and more smoking,
and smoked whiskey,
right? So, what's the favorite thing you like on that menu?
Yo, that's my husband's food. And I got to tell you, I've been eating my husband's food now for 30 years, and he is just a phenomenal cook. So, man, I love his ribs. His jerk chicken is legendary. It's fantastic. He does, and then, his catfish nuggets are just really good.
Oh my
His
God.
greens are spectacular. I mean, he really, as they say back in the South, my husband can burn,
And y'all
so
are in Denver, right?
yeah,
The restaurants. Okay, great, great. I
yeah,
just want to be sure of that. Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
are you is he sativa, hybrid, or indica?
Oh, he's a heavy indica guy.
Yeah, heavy indica. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be sativa. Tell him I did restaurants for 25 years. I worked in the front and the back, so I was pretty good at it.
I mean, we've owned restaurants, and I've never worked in the back because I honestly, seriously, I can't make cereal. I can't boil water. I'm a
Right,
disaster when it comes to the
right.
kitchen. But I've definitely run the front of the house. I am a bartender. I've, spent time behind the bar and doing things, but I don't think folks realize how hard it is to own a restaurant or to work in a restaurant. And people think it's glamorous. And I love it because it's fun. You get to see people and everything else, but man, that's hard work.
Well, the next thing and one more thing we want to talk about is that you're running for Congress,
I am.
right? All right. And so here you can go to wandaforcongress.com and join the fight. And I believe, who is this here?
So this is my boy. So Malcolm he's Malcolm. And his name is Malcolm James Durrah. And he is 120-pound or 220-pound Great Dane. He is
Jesus.
the biggest animal we have ever had living in our house. And he is just a love. And man, he's my boy.
So you're basically have all these restaurants just to feed this dog, right?
Scott cooks for him every night. Well, Scott cooks for all of our dogs, but he cooks for
Oh my, I could
Malcolm every
tell.
night.
Yeah, his coat looks amazing, but as you can see, everyone, she's running for Congress. We need to get out there and support her. I believe we're going through a revolution. So, and
We are.
Age of Aquarius and truth is
Yeah.
coming out, you
Yeah.
know. So, and I definitely want to have you back on as soon as possible to continue the conversation because we actually didn't even cover, I don't think that the tip of the mountain yet. I have faith in what you do. I did see you at a couple of events and never had to. I always missed you trying to get to you. Will you be in the East Coast, or are you going to be just focusing on your run in Colorado? Or do I have to go out there?
Well, you have to come out here because the only way you get to the restaurant is you come out here. So you have
You
to come
know,
out here. Yes.
right? Oh,
Um,
y'all don't deliver? No, I'm just,
we do, but it might take us a minute to get there. But
I
so, the thing that I dislike the most about politics is the amount of money that it takes to run for Congress, right? So I'm going to have to raise 1.2 million to beat this person. And she can raise $5,000 with a phone call to, any one of the big pharma companies or, big energy companies. So it's always hard to ask for money. It is, but I need donations from people.
mhm.
And people think, well, I don't have $5,000 to give you. $5, $1, $8, $10, $100. Because that leads to your voice and your investment in changing what it is that we want to see in Congress. The one thing that I will tell you and that I believe is I am not unmovable in my thoughts. I am a human being. We grow, we learn, and we do that through talking to people. You and I are not always going to agree. I will not play a purity test with people. But when you look at where somebody is from, when you look at how they were raised, when you look at what they believe, you've got to know that I have our best interest at heart always, 100% of the time. And
Mhm.
sometimes too, just because you think you understand what you think you believe, and that's why I was saying you've got to break down situations, a lot of situations in the way that they not just how they're presented, but you've got to understand the ins and the outs of how things work. And I am dedicated to having those conversations and educating us as a community and a people and a society to make sure that we are creating a society that can be here and be sustained. Um, my background, and this is where I'm from. I come from a working class background. I come from people who go to work every day. Even now, my husband gets up every day and smokes his smokes his meat.
Mm-hmm.
That's not all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He gets up
Yeah.
and he does the work. I get up every day and I do the work. And that's what I think people need to know about the politicians that they're electing.
Well, regarding donations, I know Zoran Mamdani did the same thing. He capped his and got major $1, $2, $5, $10 donations.
Yeah.
It helped him get over. People were still donating. He had to put out a reel stating that, please stop sending money. Please stop. And they were still sending it. And he refunded it, I believe, too, as well. If I'm correct. Anyway, so I got to tell you, I want to get you back on at least 2 more times to be able to push and promote your candidacy. Anything we could do at the podcast, please let us know. We're more than helpful to promote such a beautiful candidate. I'm doing that actually with podcasts this year. We have a couple progressive candidates that I'm very, very excited about. I was the one race, Tallarico and Crockett. It was like for the first time the best of both worlds, as the best of 2 evils. So I congratulate James Tallarico on his win, and I know we'll be seeing a lot more of Miss Crockett in the near future. And of course, when I say see your name right, I'm like, we have Black aristocracy on, y'all. Like Regent Viceroy, a Dame, Wanda James. I was going to do your introduction, my slight introduction, but of course,
Wanda James is the blackest name in America.
Hey, we're going to get.
Come on. The only way we can make my name blacker if it was Wanda James.
Hey,
I mean,
there's one thing I wanted to ask too about the restaurant. You can tell I'm a foodie. Do you all do infused as well, or do you have the opportunity to do infused supper clubs? They don't allow it, right?
And this is the issue with Colorado, right? So when you start talking about what destroyed the industry here in Colorado, it was exactly that, overregulation. So we can't do infused dinners here. We don't have the ability to do cannabis events because you can't get a permit. So I can get a permit to do like a whiskey event in the park, right? I can get a permit to do that.
Right.
I can't get a permit to do a cannabis event. So it's so there are private dinners that people do in their homes, that we can work with, but overregulation, it's a problem.
Yeah. Well, we're looking to be able to have how do we call it? Consumption lounges here.
Yeah.
We're pushing for that, and we're able to have events here.
Yep.
And host. I did a lot of cannabis growers showcases.
Yep.
And that's how I got into podcast. Really, just really worked. And my mom saying, "You need to be on radio." For like 30 years.
Listen to your mom.
I did. I love her, Dr. Joan Cartwright. Thank you so much, Wanda. I just want to say, again, I will be reaching out to you. I'm going to send you another invite for pick 2 dates, please. Let Raphael know. Thank you so much for staying in touch. And I got confused, with the Mountain Time and the, Eastern Standard Time. So thank God we got that cleared up, because I would have been on at 3:00. Anyway,
I mean, there is and Mountain Time. I can't figure that out either. I think we're the only Mountain Time, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, the Rockies. All right. God bless you so much. Tell your husband I am coming out there to try to do a lovely food tasting.
Come on.
We will be praying for you. We want to see you on. And remember, everyone, go to this lovely website, and Wanda for Congress. She is running for the Colorado District 1 seats, and is bringing change. So listen, I am looking forward to seeing you real soon. And please answer that email, because I want to keep your message going, because there's a lot more questions that I think you can answer, and give people some pause to think, and blessings, know that they're blessed to see that there's potential with this woman.
There's potential. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything today. Right. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All righty. You have a blessed day now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
All righty, everyone. This has been like, oh man, one of the better shows. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. All righty, everyone. This is Papa Duke, COG Social Network Podcast. We had the Regent Wanda James on, running for Congress in the Colorado District 1, and she is primarying against an old 30-year-old politician that needs change to get, I believe. I wish to apologize about that. And I definitely want to see her win. Just the conversation was amazing. We spoke about education, we spoke about veterans, and we still didn't even touch on, because time was of the essence. But I want to give you all big shout out and thank you so much for joining us today, and for giving me the opportunity to be with you and share this special day. I did put up, again, some posts, very important, I think you all should know about. Part one of the special op-ed I did on the high cost of equity is out, along with clips and video. Part two as well is out, the roots of the theft, the historical parallels, systematic erasure, and I just finished the blueprint for reclamation, building our own tables in the path of true equity, to the path of true equity, the high cost of equity. This was a great op-ed I did. I'm working on finishing editing this. So I just want to say thank you all so much for joining me today. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. I am done, and I've got to go pick up my grandson. So I love you all very much. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Remember, we need help with operations. GoFundMe. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, all the social media content. Substack now. We're on Substack as well. So please feel free to just stop by, give me a shout out, comment, let me know how I'm doing. I look so forward to seeing you all again real soon. Peace and blessings. And remember to relax, relate, and release. Papa Duke's COG Social Network. I'm out.